Welcome to my channel, The Man with Nothing Left. I am an old man now, my hair is gray and my face has many lines. But I remember my teenage years very well. I often think about those days. Those days were hard for me, but they taught me many lessons. I was never a lucky man. From a young age, I liked to take risks. I did not care about school. I did not care about work. I only wanted quick money. One day, I saw a man win a lot of money in a game. He was smiling and holding cash in his hands. That day, I made a choice. I said to myself, "This will be my life." I started with small bets. I played cards with friends. I bet on football games, I bet on numbers. Sometimes I won, and it felt good. The wins made me feel strong. I wanted more, I wanted bigger wins. I started to go to betting shops. I stayed there for hours. I did not see it, but I was falling. My family did not like it. My mother told me to stop. She said I was wasting my life. My brother stopped talking to me. He said I was lost, but I did not listen. I told myself they don't understand. I thought they were wrong. I thought I was in control. But the truth was different. I was not in control at all. One day I lost a big bet. It was a lot of money. I did not have it. I had to borrow from a friend, then I lost again. I felt sick inside. My hands were cold. My heart beat fast. I could not sleep that night. I looked at the ceiling and asked, "What am I doing?" But I still did not stop. I wanted to win it back. Soon I had no money left. I sold my watch. I sold my phone. I even sold my laptop. I did not care. All I wanted was another chance. Just one more game. Just one more win. And I thought, then I will stop. But I never stopped. I always lost more. I was deep in trouble. I just didn't see it yet. I started to lie. I told people I was fine. I said I had work. I said I was happy. But I was not fine. I was tired. I was hungry. I was always worried. My mind was full of numbers and bets. I could not think clearly. I forgot birthdays. I missed family dinners. My life was not mine anymore. One night I looked in the mirror. I did not know the man I saw. He had tired eyes and a sad face. He looked older. He looked weak. That was me. I touched the mirror and said, "You are not who you were." I felt empty. I wanted to cry. But no tears came. Only silence filled the room. That night I walked outside. The streets were quiet. The air was cold. I walked with no plan. My feet moved, but my heart was still. I sat on a bench and closed my eyes. I remembered better days. I remembered laughter and hope. I asked myself, when did I lose everything? I had no answer. The next morning I woke up on the same bench. My back hurt and my mouth was dry. I looked at the people walking by. They had clean clothes and warm drinks. I felt like I was on the outside of life, just watching. I wanted to be like them again. I wanted a job, a bed, a normal day. But I did not know how to start. I stood up slowly and began to walk again. I found an old friend that day. He worked at a small shop. He looked surprised to see me. He said, "You look different." I laughed, but it was not real. I asked if he had some water. He gave me a bottle and a sandwich. I ate slowly. My hands were shaking. He looked at me and said, "You need help." I nodded, but I said nothing. That night I slept behind a building. The ground was cold. I used a newspaper as a blanket. I looked at the stars and thought about my father. He used to tell me, "Don't play with fire." Now I understood what he meant. I had played with danger and I got burned. I missed home. I missed simple things. But I could not go back like this. Days passed. I walked the city with tired legs. I asked people for coins. Some helped, some did not. A few looked at me with kind eyes, but most did not look at all. I was invisible. I stopped caring about time. I did not know the date. I only knew hunger and cold. Every day felt the same. Every night felt long. One morning I saw a small church. A woman stood outside with food. She smiled at me. "Are you hungry?" she asked. I said yes. She gave me soup and bread. I said thank you. She asked my name. I told her. She said, "You are not alone." I wanted to believe her. I wanted to feel hope again. But it was hard. The woman gave me a place to sleep. It was a small room with a bed. I lay down and cried. It was the first time I cried in many months. The bed felt soft. The room was warm. I felt like a person again. I slept for hours. When I woke up, I saw a note on the table. It said, "There is still time to change." The next day, she took me to a center. It was for people with problems like mine. They spoke kindly. They listened. I said things I never said before. I said, "I am tired of this life." They said, "You are not bad. You are hurt." I cried again. I felt something new. It was not shame. It was peace, a small light inside me. I stayed there for weeks. I helped in the kitchen. I cleaned the floors. I started to read small books. I listened to music again. I felt like I was waking up after a long sleep. I was still weak, but I was alive. One day I looked in the mirror again. The man was still tired, but he had hope, and that was something. I began to talk more. I shared my story with others. Some were like me. They had lost their homes, jobs, and families. But we all wanted the same thing, a second chance. We sat in a circle and listened. No one laughed, no one judged. We just listened. I learned that pain is heavy, but sharing makes it lighter. I was not the only one who fell. I was not the only one trying to stand again. Each day I woke up early. I made my bed. I helped serve breakfast. These small things gave me strength. I felt useful. I felt human again. I began to smile more. I said good morning to people. I wrote in a notebook. I wrote about my past and my hopes. The words were simple, but they felt true. I was learning who I was again. One evening, a man came to visit. He used to be a gambler, too. He stood in front of us and spoke with calm words. He said, "I lost everything, but I found myself." His story was like mine. I listened carefully. I asked him, "How did you stop?" He said, "I stopped thinking I could win. I started thinking I could live." That stayed in my mind for days. I started to forgive myself. I had made many mistakes. I had hurt people. I had broken trust. But I was still here. I was still trying. I told myself, "You can be better." I looked at my hands. They were not full of money, but they were clean. I had nothing, but I had peace. And that was more than I ever had before. Weeks turned into months. My hair grew back. My body felt stronger. I still had no job, but I had a plan. I wanted to help others like me. I wanted to speak, to tell my story. Maybe my words could help someone stop before it was too late. I asked the woman from the church, "Can I help here?" She smiled and said, "Of course." She gave me small tasks. I cleaned the kitchen. I packed food bags. I greeted people at the door. I saw faces like mine, tired, lost, afraid. I looked at them and said, "You are not alone." Those were the words I once heard. Now I gave them to others. It felt right. It felt good. I was becoming someone new. One day I passed by an old betting shop. I looked inside. The lights were bright. The screens showed games and numbers. I remembered the sound, the rush, the lies. I stood there for a moment. My hands felt cold. Then I turned away. I walked back to the center. My steps were slow but firm. I knew where I belonged now. That night I wrote something in my notebook. I wrote, "I was a man who lost everything, but now I am finding something better." I closed the book and looked at the stars. They were small, but they were there, like hope, like change. I smiled, not because I had won, but because I was learning how to live. A few weeks later, I was offered a small job. It was at the same center that helped me. They said, "You clean well. You are kind. Would you like to work here?" I said yes right away. It was not for much money, but I didn't care. For the first time in years, I had work. I had a reason to wake up. I wore clean clothes and walked with pride. I started each day with a list. Clean the rooms, sweep the floor, carry food, simple things. But they made me feel strong. I worked with others who were also healing. We laughed sometimes. We shared stories during lunch. I looked around and saw people who once felt lost, just like me. Now we were building something together. One afternoon I met a young man. He looked scared and tired. He asked me, "Is it always this hard?" I sat with him. I said, "It gets easier one day at a time." He nodded, but I could see the pain in his eyes. I gave him a blanket and said, "You are safe here." I remembered when someone did the same for me. Now it was my turn. I began to visit schools and talk to students. I told them my story. I used simple words, but I spoke with heart. I told them how I started. I told them how I fell. I told them how I stood up again. Some kids looked surprised, some looked sad. After each talk, one or two would come and say thank you. That meant more than gold. I did not go near betting shops anymore. When I passed by one, I looked away. I remembered the dark nights, the hunger, the cold. I remembered the pain. I kept walking. Each step was a choice to live, not to gamble, a choice to heal, not to hide. My old life called me sometimes, but I did not answer. I had changed. My family started to call again. At first it was short, just hello and how are you? But slowly the talks got longer. My brother said, "You sound different." I said, "I feel different." My mother cried on the phone. She said, "I prayed for this day. I wanted to see them again, but I knew I had to wait. I had more work to do on myself." One evening I walked by the river. The sky was orange. The water moved slowly. I sat on a bench and watched. I thought about the past, all the money I lost, all the time I wasted. But I did not feel sad. I felt grateful. Those dark days taught me something. They showed me how to be strong, how to be kind, how to care. Before I left the river, I made a promise. I said it out loud. I will not go back. I will keep moving forward. I took a deep breath and stood up. The wind touched my face. The world was still hard. But I was not the same man. I was not lost anymore. I was found. And I was ready to begin again with open eyes and a quiet heart. A few months later, I moved into a small room. It had one bed, one chair, and a little window. But it was mine. I cleaned the floor and hung a photo on the wall. It was a picture of the sea. I looked at it every morning. It made me feel calm. I made tea, read books, and wrote in my notebook. I was learning to enjoy quiet things. I still worked at the center. I helped people with their rooms and meals. I spoke to them when they felt sad. Some cried, some shouted, but I listened. I told them, "You are not bad. You are just hurt." I remembered how I used to feel. I knew the pain. That helped me understand. I did not judge. I just stayed close. One man came to the center full of anger. He broke things. He shouted at people. Many wanted to send him away. But I said, "Let me talk to him." I sat with him for hours. I told him about my life. He said nothing at first. Then he said, "Me too." We were quiet. But in that silence, something changed. He stopped shouting. I began to dream again. Small dreams, a better job, a visit to my family, maybe one day my own house. These dreams were not big, but they were bright. They gave me hope. I wrote them on paper and put them near my bed. Each morning I looked at them. I said one day. Then I went to work and took one more step forward. People in the neighborhood started to know me. They waved when I passed. A shop owner gave me free bread once a week. A child smiled and said, "You're the helper man." That name stayed with me. I was no longer the gambler or the man who lost. I was the helper. It felt good. It felt real. It felt like a new name. One rainy day, I saw my reflection in a window. I stopped and looked. I saw a man with kind eyes and clean clothes. His face was older, but it was strong. I stood there for a long time. Then I smiled. I did not hate that face anymore. I touched the glass and said, "You are doing okay." It was not perfect, but it was enough. I started saving coins, just a little each week. I kept them in a jar. I called it my hope jar. When it got full, I smiled. That small jar showed my change. Before I spent every coin, now I saved. It was not about money. It was about power. The power to choose. The power to wait. The power to build a better life. At night, I still remembered the dark days, but I did not feel fear. I felt proud. I had come a long way. I had learned to walk again, to trust again, to live again. And I knew something now. True change is slow, but step by step it grows. Like a seed in the ground, it becomes something strong, something good. One morning I got a letter from my brother. The paper was soft and clean. The words were short but full of meaning. He wrote, "We want to see you. Come home." My hands shook a little. I read it again and again. I sat on my bed thinking. I had changed so much. Was I ready? Yes, I was ready. I smiled and whispered, "It's time." I packed my small bag. I folded my best shirt and put it inside. I added my notebook in my hope jar. I looked around my little room. It had kept me safe. I walked to the door, turned and whispered, "Thank you." Then I left. The sun was rising. I felt nervous but also strong. I was going to see my family. My heart felt full. The bus ride was long. Trees passed by the window. Small towns came and went. I watched people get on and off. Some looked tired, some looked happy. I thought of all the days I had walked alone. Now I was moving toward love, toward home. The sky turned orange. I closed my eyes and whispered. Almost there. I felt calm. My mother opened the door. She looked older, but her eyes were the same. She opened her arms and I stepped into them. She held me tight. My brother came next, then his wife and son. We all stood together in silence. No one needed words. I was home. I looked around. Everything was different, but it felt right. I was safe. That night we ate together. My mother made soup and bread, the same food I ate as a boy. We laughed. We remembered old days. I told them my story. I used simple words, but they understood. They listened with love. My mother held my hand. She said, "You came back." I smiled. I said, "Yes, I did." My heart felt light. Later, I sat outside and looked at the stars. The night was quiet. The wind was soft. I thought of the man I used to be, the man who lost everything. But now I was someone else, someone better. I had pain, yes, but I also had hope. I closed my eyes and made a promise. I will keep going. I will never go back. I am free now. And so my story does not end with loss. It ends with hope. Quiet, strong, and real. Thanks for watching video. Please like and subscribe the video for more such interesting stories. Share this story with your friends and subscribe my channel, Easy Story Alicia 24/7. Thank you. Take care, everyone.